Good evening, testing, testing. So the webinar is going to start at 7. Good evening, Roberto. I'm sharing on a couple of platforms. Whoops. But I won't be able to answer anybody on TikTok or on YouTube. Can anybody react? Can they see the screen? Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Just a reaction or show of hands. Everybody can hear me and everybody can see the GEPF Masterclass screen. If anybody can, you can just use the chat. Thank you, Krishna. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Roberto. Thank you, Miss P. I'm excited about tonight's session and I do thank you for being here. I am going live in 2 minutes on TikTok and on YouTube. But if you have questions, I believe there's a chat. So you can leave your questions in the chat. I'll be answering questions at the end. Friends, do you have a question? Do you have a question? Or are you just letting me know that you are here? There's a chat box. I'll be giving everybody a opportunity to ask a question. If you want, you can put it in the chat box. But just to avoid any interruptions, so nobody is allowed currently to use their mic. At the end, I will give everyone who wants an opportunity to ask a question to ask a question. So for the people on YouTube, please register in the link. I think it's in the description if you want the recording to be made available. So anybody who isn't on the Teams session won't receive the recording of this session. And unfortunately on TikTok, I cannot stream here on Teams and on TikTok, my screen. But if you are interested, please register. There's a link in my bio. You can register, and in that link, you'll be able to access or get the recording. So I'll give it 1 more minute and then we're going to start. Please let me know if there's any, put up your hand or give me a reaction, maybe in the chat. If you don't see anything or don't hear anything, just maybe put a 0 in chat, please, or put up your hand just to make me realize that you aren't able to hear me. So welcome to everybody, everyone joining on TikTok, everyone joining on Teams and YouTube. This is my GEPF Masterclass, and I want to say thank you for everybody for being here. And it's 7 o'clock, so let's start. I can only answer questions for everybody who's in the Teams session and who registered for the session. For the TikTok and YouTube, I won't be able to answer any questions. So just a disclaimer before we start. This is not financial advice. So although I am a financial advisor, I can only give you financial advice if I take your personal goals and your situation into account. So when I am and when I discuss and when I consult one-on-one, then I can give you financial advice. Tonight is an information session and to guide you to understand your pension and the GEPF better. So just an outline of the masterclass for tonight. So part one will be about a problem that's keeping people and keeping us poor. Part two will be the GEPF survival guide, mistakes that you need to avoid. And part three will be the implementation guide or wins I want you to secure. And part four will be questions and answers. And there is a chat box. If you do want to ask any questions, feel free to ask me a question there. And I do give my promise that I will answer each and every question that is asked tonight. So if you ask a question, I'll stay, although it is an hour session, I will stay until the last question has been answered. So just some background about me. So I have more than 10 years experience with the GEPF and with financial planning. And my passion is to help people make the best choices when it comes to their finances. And the reason I have a soft spot for the GEPF is because my grandfather, who died at the age of 91, was a member of the GEPF. And that was one of my biggest reasons why I wanted to understand the GEPF better, in order, of course, to help him and to advise him accordingly. And I do promise if you apply what I teach you today or tonight, you won't have any financial worry in the future or any uncertainty that you won't have enough. So please make notes and please ask questions, because the more questions you ask, I think the more value that I'll be able to provide tonight. Although I said we'll do the mistakes later, there's one mistake, and this I call mistake 0, that I want to share with you before we start. And the first mistake I see a lot of people make is not verifying. So you need to check if a person is accredited, and it is crucial before you take any financial advice. And I want to show you the document that provides proof that I am able to give advice. Can you see my screen? Can you see a new screen? It says old neutral and it says contact states disclosure. Just give me a 1 in the chat if you can see. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the thumbs up. So before you take any financial advice from any person, a person will need to disclose or show you that they are accredited. Now, this is the document, and each company's document would look a little bit different, but you'll see the person's or the advisor's name will be on there, and also the license code, and also what he is accredited for. You can also use this information to go and look onto the FSCA's website to see if it is legit and if I am registered. So if you have any doubt on any person, ask them to provide you with their disclosure document or their mandate letter, and then you'll be able to see what he is accredited for. As you can see, this is mine, and I'm accredited for quite a few products that I can give advice on. You can see it's investment planning, retirement planning, risk, employee benefits, and back to the presentation. Also, I want to give you your first win of tonight. So this is win number 0, and that's for being here. And I want to thank each and everybody who took the time tonight. Firstly, who registered for the session and who set out, whether it be on half an hour, for joining me tonight. I do understand, and it's my belief that time is our most precious commodity, the most precious thing we have. You can always make more money, but you cannot make more time. So I understand how valuable time is to each and everybody, including me. I wouldn't be here if it was just as valuable for me to share this information and just as much, I believe you wouldn't be here if you wouldn't be here if I wasn't able to provide you with value. So it's my hope that I can leave you with significant value tonight in order to also improve your lives, but to say thank you for being here. So it's really a pleasure, and thank you for taking the time to be here tonight. Now, Albert Einstein said, we cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them. I want you to remember this quote by Albert Einstein. He said, we cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them. But what problem do we have, and who created this problem? Who created this thinking? This is the current system that we live in, and I want to explain it. And this is where the problem starts, and this is where all the consequences of this problem starts. Not sure if people know, but the South African Reserve Bank, they do have private shareholders, right? And the South African Reserve Bank, they print money, which they provide to the banks. Now, in turn, the banks, they loan money to clients, that's me and you. But in order for the bank to get money from the South African Reserve Bank, all they need to prove that Rowen in blue qualifies for a loan. So if Rowen has a high income and Rowen has a good credit record, they can provide proof to the South African Reserve Bank that Rowen will qualify for R1 million loan. And because of that promise and that proof, they will ask the South African Reserve Bank to give them money in order to provide that money to me. The South African Reserve Bank also lends money or loans money to the government, right? They also do that. And the reason why they want us to have a high education in school is so that we can have a higher income, so that we can have, and if we have a higher income, we earn more, and then we'll qualify for a bigger loan. And in the end, who do you think benefits from this? South African Reserve Bank. It's the same for the taxes. The higher you earn, the more taxes you pay. Of course, the government will benefit, but also the South African Reserve Bank will benefit because you earn more and you'll qualify for a higher loan. And that is why the South African Reserve Bank will benefit. Now, this was the system that was created. And if we keep on thinking that this system is going to solve our problem, then we are going to struggle and we're not going to move forward in life. So just a couple of definitions that I might or might not touch on. Surplus is the money that you have left after all necessities are paid. Your personal growth rate is the growth that you want on an investment to achieve your goal or retirement. And then investment growth rate is the growth of your investment, and yield is income earned from an investment. So before we go into anything, I have a question. And I want to show you by this example how the system operates and how the system has created a way of thinking without us realizing. So the first question that I want to ask, and you can put a 1 if you agree, or let me say 1 for rent and 2 for buy. What do you think is better? 1, is it better to rent a property, or is it better to buy a property? Just by show of numbers in the chat, 1 and 2. So I can see if people are still listening as well. 1, yeah, TikTok, 1, 2, 2, it's better to buy, 2, to buy. Hello, people. Please, if you want to see the screen, go and check on my YouTube. You'll be able to follow the screen as well. So it's a lot of 1s and 2s, and I want to show you the calculation. Thank you for the interaction. I do appreciate it. Let me show you, and I need to share a calculation spreadsheet. Can everybody see my screen? And everybody. Threes in the chat. Yes, they can see my spreadsheet. Threes in the chat. Ambrose, you cannot see my screen. Check on YouTube. I couldn't share on TikTok and on Teams. So people can see my screen. On Teams, everybody joined on Teams. You can see my screen. Just a number 3 or a thumbs up. Just a quick thumbs up. 3. Nobody? Oh, perfect, perfect. So is it better to buy a property or rent? Now let's take this example. If you purchase a property of 1 million rand and your interest rate, so you have a bond, is 12%. Your bond term is 30 years. That means your repayment is 10,286. And those on TikTok can listen if you cannot see my screen. If you have a capital growth rate of 10% and you want to sell your property after 7 years, you will be selling it for 1.9 million rand. Everybody with me? So if you have a property of 1 million and it grows by 10% annually and you sell it after 7 years, you have 1.9 million. Now, if most people would say, if I sell my property for 1.9 million and I paid 1 million for it, the profit that I make is 948,000 because it grew to 1.9. I'm paying off my bond and I am left with 948,000 rand. But the problem with that is, what about the payments that you have already made? Because for 7 years, you've made a payment of 10,286 rand. If we calculate what we have spent over the 7 years, we've spent 864,000 rand. So the actual profit, that we've made is 84,683 rand. But I didn't take into account any commission that could have been paid. If you paid commission of 5%, including that, you would have paid 97,000 rand in commission. And after commission, you'd have minus 12,000 rand, or 12,000 rand you would have been out of pocket. Please give me a 4 in the chat if you understand and if you are getting what I'm trying to say here. 4s in the chat or thumbs up if you understand what this calculation. Thank you for the hands up. 4s in the chat. Thank you. So after commission, you're out of pocket 12,000 rand. And the question that I have, why do we believe that we're making a profit? Because it makes sense if you purchase something for 1.1 million and you sell it for 1.9, but we believe we're making a profit of 948,000 rand. Now, this is what normally what happened is somebody told you, but it's better to buy a property and then you sell a property. And that's the reason we believe the system created this belief that it is better to buy a property and then to sell that property after it has appreciated a certain amount. But let's look at an alternative. Let's say that another person, let's say it's a twin, and that person decided to rent that same property, this lovely property I showed you at the beginning. Let's say you could rent this nice property, because normally you can rent the same type of property for less. So if you rent it for 7,000 rand, you have a surplus or an excess of 3,286 rand. So where you would have spent 10,000, you're spending 7,000. So what's left is 3,000. If you decided to regularly save that amount and you received a 12% growth, you would have almost 400,000 rand in your bank account. While the first person is out of pocket minus 12,000 rand, you are in profit of 400,000 rand. Please give me a 5 if you understand. Thank you. People are getting it. Now the answer is not it's better to buy a property or it's better to rent a property? The answer is you need to do the calculation, because the calculation is going to show you what is better. Because purchasing a property can be better than renting a property. But all of these variables has an impact. And if you don't do a calculation with all these variables, you won't be able to be certain if the property that you purchased or that you're renting was a good idea or not. So I want you to understand this point. It's not better to necessarily rent. The answer is you need to do your calculation to see what is better. Now the GEPF, and if there's time, I'll come back to some more calculations. But the GEPF, there's two types of fund, and the GEPF is what is called a defined benefit fund. Now members make contribution towards one fund, and the value or the benefits to the members are determined by their years of service, their salary, or if they are a uniformed member or not. To put it otherwise, the GEPF, to calculate your benefits, to calculate what you will receive, whether it be retirement, whether it be resignation or ill health, they do a calculation. A defined benefit fund just means we do a calculation and we have a certain formula, and that formula will determine what is paid out to you at retirement or at resignation or at ill health. So that's what a defined benefit fund is. The other fund that we do get is a defined contribution fund. Now, this is like a normal savings plan. You can think of it that way. But this is where you and your employer make regular contributions towards your pension or towards a fund. And the value of your fund is based on the amount of contributions, the amount of money that you put in, and the growth of that fund. So a defined contribution fund, it's like a retirement annuity or a normal pension or a normal provident fund. GEPF members have something different that is called a defined benefit fund. And the name, as it says, your benefits are defined by a formula. To calculate that benefits, the GEPF members need to know the following things. You need to know your years of service. It has to be your years of pensionable service. And you need to know your final salary. Now, your final salary is the average salary over the last 2 years. Now, those are I want to call the primary components of calculating your GEPF benefits. There's also secondary components. Uniformed members also differ in their calculation. If you purchased years, it will also affect your benefits. And also, if you made any two-pot withdrawals, it will also affect your benefits. Now, here's a quick example of a calculation of Jane Doe, who earns 400,000 Rand and who has 30 years of service. To calculate the gratuity, and I know a couple of you have seen my videos on how to calculate the gratuity. So the gratuity is your lump sum amount. It's just a fancy word for the lump sum, or the 1/3, you can call it. The gratuity is your lump sum amount. To calculate your lump sum, you take 6.72% times your final salary times your years of pensionable service. And that's how you calculate your gratuity. There are small nuances to this depending on the options that you choose, but this is the standard formula to calculate your lump sum. So for Jane Doe, her lump sum would be 6.72% times 400,000 Rand times 30 equals 806,400 Rand before tax. So this is how you calculate the gratuity of the GEPF. Because it is a defined benefit fund, you can do this calculation. You on TikTok, if you want to see the screen, you can check it out on YouTube, or you can register still for my webinar in the bio. The annuity, or the monthly amount that they will pay. So the annuity is calculated as follows. It's 1/55 times the final salary times the years of service, and afterwards you add a 360 to it. So all that is a formula. I've seen people ask, where do you get the 360? This is just part of the formula. Where do I get the 1/55? This is just part of the formula. So this needs to be annuity, but the annuity equals 1/55 times final salary times years of service plus 360. If you do that calculation, you'll get to 218,541. And that is per year. And that will equal 18,212 Rand per month before tax. While we're here, let's fix. Everybody still with me? Please remember, if you have any questions, write them down or make note, but I'll answer them at the end of the session. But you also get a resignation benefit. Now, your resignation benefit is the calculation is a bit more complicated, but here's how you calculate it. It's 6.72% times your final salary times the years of service plus 1/55 times your final salary times the years of service plus 360. Then you need to times that with an actuarial factor. And if we do that calculation, and that actuarial factor is determined by the GEPF, but if we do that calculation, it ends at 3.1 million Rand before tax. That is if you choose your resignation benefit. Now we get to the mistakes. The mistake number one, I see a lot of clients make. And the first mistake is resignation. So when a member resigns or is discharged and his money or his benefit is paid into his bank account, this is when you resign. This is called a resignation. Now there's two within the GEPF. You can resign after 55 or before 55. And before 55, the tax implications will be greater. But let's take a look at James Doe situation because I did the calculation. So before 1998, 1 March, there was no tax on the GEPF pension. Yeah, there was no tax on the GEPF pension fund. So because he was appointed before 1 March 1998, she has a tax-free portion of 319,000 Rand. The taxable portion that she has, and that calculation, it's not the right one. I think it's two. Let me just double check. This one, just double check. I think it should be 2 million. But I calculated, and let me just do that. Let me just do it. Just give me a second. It's this one. Yep. Let me see if that is the right calculation. 2,614,315. So that's the taxable portion. That's the taxable portion. The taxable portion is 2,614,315. I thought it looked suspicious. That's the taxable portion. And the tax that she will pay if she resigns, and this is at the age of 60, is 866,000 Rand. Now, what can you purchase from 866,000 Rand? And that is why this is mistake number one. People should not take a resignation benefit because you can probably buy a small house and you will definitely be able to buy a car for that amount. So this is the first mistake, to resign. There is options to not pay that tax, and I'll get to that later. There is options that you can use, but resigning and letting that money hit your bank account, whether it be before retirement or after retirement, is going to have a huge tax impact. Let me just show what the tax implication would be if you withdrew before if you withdraw before retirement. Jane did it after retirement age, but if you do it before 55, just as a calculation, for 3 million, you'll pay 911,000 Rand tax. So that's the difference. The difference between retiring, that's almost more than 100,000 Rand. That's the first mistake. The second mistake I see GEPF members make is retiring too early. Early retirement is when you decide to retire before the age of 60. Now, normal retirement age is 60, and your lump sum benefit is 806,000 Rand, where your income benefit is 18,000 Rand. If you decided to go on early retirement at the age of 55, your lump sum benefit will be 537,000 Rand, and your income benefit will be 12,000 Rand. Now, this means there's a difference in lump sum of 268,000 Rand as your lump sum and a 6,000 Rand as per your income. And let me just check, can everybody still see in the chat and everybody understands the impact of retiring early? Maybe just give me a 6 in the chat if you understand. Or thumbs up. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the 6s. Thank you for the 6s and the thumbs up. So although there's discussions of early retirement without benefits, I want people to understand that early retirement without benefits only benefits you till you are 60 years old, which means Treasury normally makes money available when you go on early retirement. That is why it's something you need to apply for. The money does not come from the GEPF. Treasury makes this money available. Now, because of this reason, if you have a difference in payment of 6,000 Rand, they will pay this difference only until you reach the age of 60. So the early retirement without penalties, after 60, you still have that penalty in your pocket. They would just pay you a lump sum amount until the age of 60, and that is what is called early retirement without penalties. Does everybody understand that? Give me a number 7. Still with me? Or thumbs up? Thank you. Thank you. So it's important, and I want to refer back to Albert Einstein, who said, we cannot solve our problem with the same level of thinking. Why do you think would anybody give you early retirement without penalties? If you had a business and you would provide somebody with early retirement without penalties, who created the problem? Who's creating the solution? Who do you believe will benefit? Just a question I want to leave with you. Just a question I want to leave with you. So mistake number 3 is not planning. And without a plan, you are gambling on you and your family's future. And I want to show you what I mean by not planning. Now, this is also just still part of the GEPF and their pension fund. But if a pensioner dies within 5 years of retiring or being discharged, the GEPF will pay the balance of the retirement or discharge annuity to the beneficiaries. In other words, the GEPF will only pay an additional lump sum if you pass away within 5 years of retirement or discharge. So here's a screen to show you what I mean. This is after retirement, you decided to retire with a GEPF. After retirement, death within the first year of this scenario of Jane Doe, if she passes away within the first year of retirement, her family will still receive 1 million rand as a lump sum. If she passes away in year 2, it decreases to 800,000 rand. Third year, it's 600,000 rand. In the fourth year, it's 400,000 rand. And in the fifth year, it's 200,000 rand. If you pass away 6 or more years after you retired, no lump sum will be paid to your beneficiaries. Does everybody understand this? 8. Give me an 8. We're getting out of numbers, but give me an 8. Give me a thumbs up. But thank you for the 8s. But again, it comes down to planning. This is not necessarily something that's wrong with the GEPF, but if you plan for this, you don't have to worry about this at all. And this is still part of not planning. So what also happens within the GEPF is what is called, and this benefit is called spouse's pension. Now, on default, normally, and people don't know, they have 3 options within the GEPF. The first option is normally called the default option. I call it also the 50% option. And on this option, you'll get 800,000 Rand as a lump sum and 18,000 Rand as an income. Now, the reason why it's the 50% option, if you pass away, then you leave your spouse with 50% of your pension. So you earned an 18,000 Rand. If you pass away, you leave your spouse with 9,000 Rand. You also get a reduced lump sum option, or the 75% option. Now, this means your lump sum reduces to 702,000 Rand. You decide, I want a reduced lump sum option. Your income will stay the same at 18,212. But why would you take a reduced lump sum within the GEPF? The fund trader, this is for the GEPF. This is for the GEPF. Now, the reason why you would take a reduced lump sum is to leave your spouse with 75% of your pension. So in this case, and you'll see the gravestone looks better than the first one, you leave your spouse with 13,659 Rand. You can also decide to take a reduced income option. So instead of taking 18,000 Rand, you are going to take 17,574. You keep your lump sum at 806,400. Also, the reason why you will take a reduced income benefit is to leave your spouse with 13,180 Rand per month. Give me a 9 if you are still with me and if you understand this. And why it's important to plan: if you understand and know about this, then you can plan accordingly to leave sufficient money to your family. So now we get to what you implement and the wins and the things I need you to start doing. So the first thing, and we touched it on the beginning, you need to start doing the calculations, because the calculations is going to tell you the truth, right? It's not going to be because somebody else told you, because you heard it from this person. So let me show you the calculation. So is it better to retire or to resign? And this is what the calculation is about. So Jane would receive a total annuity of 3.1 million. So she has 2 options, actually 3. Jane can decide to retire with a GEPF. She can decide to take a full resignation benefit and pay the tax, or she can move this money to an approved fund, right? So Jane has 3.1 million as a total resignation benefit, but she decides to transfer it to an approved fund. This means that Jane will receive 1/3 of 1 million Rand, and the other 2 million needs to be invested for an income. And this is according to legislation. Now, legislation says when it comes to pension money and your 2/3, at minimum, you can withdraw 2.5%, and at maximum, you can withdraw 17.5%. If you withdraw 2.5%, you can see here on the screen, you will earn 4,435 Rand. Nobody can live from that amount. If you decide to take 17.5% as an income, and this is an annual amount, you'll get per month, or Jane will get 31,000 Rand per month. Now, and that is why it's in the green, my recommendation would be to take 4%, right? Depending on your age and your health, 4% would be my initial advice, my initial recommendation as an income. But now you'll only receive an income of 7,000 Rand per month. And if we look at what the GEPF offers, it offers 18,000 Rand per month. That's 10.26% that you are receiving as an income. And I want you to remember this 10.26%. Everybody still with me? Give me a 10 in the chat. And I'll get to the questions at the end. I'm seeing your questions. Thank you. Seeing the questions, and I'll get to them at the end. Just give me a 10 if I can go to the next screen. 10, thank you. So now, and this is where the problem continues. If you have 2.1 million, and this is your 2/3, and you need to withdraw a percentage, to survive, it also means that your investment needs to grow with that exact same percentage if you want your capital to stay the same, right? So if I have 2 million apples and I eat 10 apples, I'll need to add 10 apples to keep my apples at 2 million. Everybody understand the slide? 11 or thumbs up. Thank you. Now the problem is if you take a 17.5% withdrawal and your growth is only 5%, your capital of 2.1 million is going to tend to zero. It's going to be decreasing rapidly because you are withdrawing or eating 17 apples, but you're only adding 5. And to show you some of the worst performing unit trust funds, here you can see the funds can even grow at a negative rate. So there's a risk involved, and you need to take this into account because nobody can promise you or guarantee you a return. And this is the reason why it's so important to do the calculation. And this is things that you can start implementing. Because we haven't even taken into account, and just like when it comes to the property when we didn't realize, but we've already paid for 7 years, you'll also lose your medical aid subsidy. You'll also lose leave days. You also won't have funeral cover anymore. You won't be getting increases. You won't have a spouse's pension and you won't have a child's pension. Now, win number 2 is you need to plan. And it's the same. Without a plan, you're gambling on you and your family's future. And I want to show you why, if you start planning, how it can improve. So I want to show you how, and I said how you can pay zero tax on lump sum withdrawals. And I'm going to show you how to pay less or zero tax on your 2-pot withdrawals. Does anybody want to see how to pay less tax or zero tax on your lump sum withdrawals and how you can pay less or zero tax? Give me a 12 if you want to see. Thumbs up. Otherwise, it's no use me sharing if nobody wants to see it. Thank you. Okay, people want to see. People want to see. So first, what you can do is let me share my calculation sheet for withdrawals. Here we go. And everybody can see my screen. I know TikTok, you won't be able to see my screen. Please check on YouTube or go and check on MS Teams. The link is in my bio. So here are the tax tables. And this is the retirement tax tables. I want to be at the withdrawals tax tables. So if you want to pay 0% tax, the first thing you can do is you can withdraw the amount that is available according to the tax tables that won't allocate any tax to it. And currently that amount is 27,500. So if you have a 3 million and you decide you want to withdraw that full 3 million, you'll pay 900,000 Rand tax. If you decide, but I am going to be smart and I'm planning and I'm only going to take 27,500, then you won't pay any tax. So that's the first thing you can do to pay zero tax. If you want to pay less tax, just take less than your value of your pension fund. Take what is required or is needed, but to pay no tax, just take less than that amount. The other option that you have is you can transfer. When you resign, you can transfer your money to an approved fund. And when you transfer your money to an approved fund, you won't pay any tax. It's important for this. It's important that you speak to a financial advisor because there's consequences to transferring it to an approved fund. Because it is a product, the product has certain rules, so understand what the rules are before you do it. But transferring to an approved fund will also allow you to not pay any tax on your withdrawal from resignation. So how can you pay zero tax on your two-pot withdrawals? I think everybody wants to see this. Can I agree? A lot of people would like to know. Just a 13 if you can still hear me because my mic switched off. And if you want to see this, just a 13. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so you can hear me. So your two-pot withdrawals are taxed as per your normal tax rate. So let's do a calculation. I have a calculator for almost everything. I need to find it. Just give me a second. Oops, I have a calculator for everything. And there we go. So tax works as follows. Okay, so you pay tax on the amount of income that you earn over a period of time. That's how you pay tax. You don't pay tax on your monthly salary, but you pay tax on the total amount of income that you earn over a certain period. And that period is from 31st. Is it from? Yeah, it's from is it from March to February? March to February, but it's a tax year. I keep on getting confused. So the amount you earn for that full period, you'll pay tax on that. If your income is less than the tax threshold, then you won't pay any tax on your two-pot withdrawal. So let me explain. If you decide to either 13 to 28, yes, that's correct. It's the 1st of March. Yes, 1st of March to 28 Feb. 1st of March to 28 Feb. So yeah, if you earn less than the tax threshold, you won't pay any tax on your two-pot withdrawals because it works like this. If you earn, let's say you earn per month 5,000 Rand, you won't pay any tax. You'll pay 0% tax because you're earning less than the tax threshold. And because your withdrawals from your two-pot two-pot is also linked to your income tax rate. If you add another 30,000 to your annual income, if you ever add a 30,000, you still won't be, you still won't be earning any tax because you'll still be below the threshold. So if you want to pay, and that's why you need to plan for this, if you want to pay no tax for your two-pot withdrawals, firstly, if you don't withdraw, you won't pay any tax. But if you are terminated at work and you won't receive an income for the full year, let's say you only earned an income for March and the rest of the year you did not earn any income, then your two-pot withdrawal, saving withdrawal, won't attract any tax because your income for the year won't be above the threshold. Does everybody understand what I'm trying to get at? So if you want to pay less tax or no tax on your withdrawals, you need to plan, or you need to either resign, or you need to, if you're what is called not resignation, but if you are terminated at work due to redundancy, if that takes place, you won't receive an income for that year anymore. And that means that your income for the year will decrease, and whatever you withdraw from the two-pot will be added to your lesser income. So if you only earned retrenchment, Corney, that is the word, retrenchment. So if you earned 30,000 Rand for the month and you didn't receive any income and you withdraw another 30,000 Rand, your total income will be less than the tax threshold and you won't pay any tax. So it comes down to planning. If you plan and you understand with a bit of knowledge, you can actually pay zero tax on withdrawals from the two-pot. But in the normal circumstance, you won't. You cannot run away from tax. Win number 3 is you need to take action. So without action, nothing is going to happen. So Warren Buffett says risk comes from not knowing what you're doing. And I had a screen to show you the impact, and I want to show it to you on a growth calculator. Let me calculate. $17 million. And that is 9 million. Now, the reason we need to take action, and we need to take action as soon as possible. I just did a quick calculation. If you if you save 5,000 Rand over a 30-year period, right? Over a 30-year period, you'll have 17 million if your growth rate is 12%. Now, if we don't take action and we leave it for later and we decide to procrastinate, even if we double our spending, if we spend 10,000 Rand within that same period because we started 10 years later, we'll be left with 9 million. So taking action is very important when it comes to anything. Without taking action, nothing is going to happen. You won't lose weight if you don't decide to do something about it. You cannot just speak about it. You cannot understand it. You need to actually put it in action. Now, risk comes from not knowing what we are doing. Risk comes from not knowing what we are doing. Did you know that one of the highest school fees in South Africa costs 199,000 Rand per annum for a private school? This is the highest that I've seen. And I want you to remember that we cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them. Now, that being said, I do provide, and thank you for everybody for being here. I do provide services, and I am willing and able to do a GPF report planning session with you and also a calculation session. But because everybody who joined tonight, for everybody who is here and would like to know more, I have 3 levels. And the first level, and I'll still give discount, but this we can discuss if you message me. What I've also decided, so it's normally my consultations is 1,500, but I decided to decrease it for the first 5 people because I need people who are serious and who's willing to take action. It's going to be 500 rand, and I will be giving you the calculation. I'll be assisting you. I'll do a planning or report, and I'll also assist you with the GPF report. Normally, I also charge for a I also have a debt webinar where I assist you, or I'll invite you to the webinar where I assist you and I teach you how to pay off all your debt. Even if you have R1,000,000 worth of debt in 7 years or less, I'll add you to a WhatsApp group where we can also discuss and you have also access to me. Also, I'll give you consultation and I'll give you the actionable steps, the GPF report, the same as level 1. Also going to be for today only and for everybody who joined. If you didn't join on Teams, you won't have this offer. It's only for people who joined with Teams tonight. There's also an offer and it's 1,500 Rand, but I have a special offer within that offer, but I'll discuss that for everybody who is serious and who does contact me. And then the final offer, I have weekly webinars where I give everybody access to my calculators, the calculations. We discuss everything finances, goal setting. I'll give you the planning reports, actionable steps, the GPF reports. There'll be multiple consultations. I'll assist you with paying off your debt. A very nice webinar. It's the first time home buyer one. I'll assist you how you can save more than 200, 300,000 Rand when purchasing a property. There's also WhatsApp groups for those. And I'll also invite you, as I said, to the weekly webinar session. It's normally 15,000 Rand, but for today, as I said, there's also a special offer, but for everybody who contacts me. And the price today is 5,000 Rand. Any questions to anybody, or does anybody have? Let me just think. That is, I want to say thank you. That is all that I have. And for everybody who took out their time, I'm not sure how long it went. Let me see what time it is. Yeah, it's an hour. It was good. It was good, but now I'll be answering all the questions. All the questions. Did just for the last question, did people gain value from tonight's session? Do you feel it was valuable? There's such a lot of things that I could not touch on tonight because I wanted to keep it within an hour. I didn't get into debt, how you pay off your debt. I didn't get into property and how you can pay off your property. And I didn't get into any of those, but I want to know if it was valuable. If you can give me just a comment or 14 in the chat, and then I'll be answering all the questions that I do have. I didn't even get into some of the GPFs. I didn't get into the penalties of the GPF, how it's calculated. But my time is limited and I try to compress and give the most value. Let me just check what are the questions. That's an AI. Good evening, Rowan. What's the annuity formula? Event of a spouse that passed away. What was a GPF? Is the annuity amount supposed to be paid to the So, Lindani, if the person was employed, the calculation differs again. If the person was retired and passed, depending on if you saw the slide, if it was after 5 years, there's only a spouse's pension. And I didn't even, now that I think about it, if you don't have a spouse, it's also important, the planning part, because nothing will be paid to your children if you don't have a spouse and you are a member of the GEPF, right? I didn't even get to that part. Good evening. So Lindani, I'll need to calculate that. As I said, it differs. Was the person employed? Is it after he retired? So that calculation is going to be different depending on the age, depending on how old he was he employed, was he a uniform member? So it's best if I do that calculation for you. But the annuity will be paid to the spouse. That's correct. It's the spouse's pension that needs to pay. I actually even didn't get to tell you guys you need to apply for your life partners. You need to nominate life partners and beneficiaries on your GEPF. That's another big problem within the GEPF. I'll get to Lorenzo. I'll unmute now. Let me just see if there's more. I see your hand. Brilliant session and presentation, everyone. Thank you. I think I missed it. Where can I get the contact details to set up an appointment? So everybody who registered on, thank you, Godney, for the question. Everybody who registered, I'll have your email address and I'll be sending an email tonight. And if you want to know more, you'll need to contact me. The special offer will end next week on Friday, but I'll send everything in an email. And I'll send my contact details if you do want to contact me. But I do have limited space because I'm not sure if people have seen. I've gotten quite a few comments, and I won't be able to assist everybody. So only the ones who's really serious and who messages me, I'll make a plan. But I won't be able to get to everybody. Or you'll have to wait. You'll have to wait. Thanks for the advice. Learned a lot. Very insightful. Thank you, Rowen. It was indeed valuable. Let me unmute Lorenzo. Let me see if I can do it. How many times? Because I think your hand was up first. And Brent, I'll answer you in a second. I think you have a question, right, Lorenzo? Lorenzo, I believe I unmuted you. If you want to go ahead and speak. Or was it just a... Hi, Lorenzo.
Good evening. Yes, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you perfectly. Thank you.
Yes, the question I have is regarding the resignation benefit, the one where you said the 2/3 I can transfer to a fund.
Yes,
then
yes.
The 1/3 of it I can actually withdraw.
Yes, that is. Yes, that's one.
Yes, does the resignation benefit apply to a member who just resigns even if the contract has not expired?
So the resignation benefit is when you decide to take that full cash amount out of your GEPF fund, right? But this income can only be paid once you are of retirement age. So if you are 30 and you are on a contract and you decide but you want to take a resignation benefit, you won't be allowed to receive an income from the 2/3. What you can do is you can preserve that capital. You can also take a portion of that for use, but you'll be taxed. The 2/3 or the rest will need to stay in that preserved fund until you turn 55. So it depends. If you are older than 55, then you can apply this. Does that answer your question?
Yes, that answers my question. Thank you very much.
Perfect. Thank you for the question, Lorenzo. Thank you for being here. Let's go to the next question. How many times can you withdraw from your resignation pension fund below tax threshold? So the tax threshold for resignation. So with the GEPF, you can resign before 55. You can also take a resignation benefit after 55. So you can have a withdrawal. Let me get that calculator. You can have a withdrawal of 27,000, but only once. Only once. That's a good question. Only once. So if you are less than 55, you can have this withdrawal once, but this is only when you resign. This is not a withdrawal you can just make because I want money. This withdrawal, it's just the name of the calculation or of the formulas and the tax tables that they use. You can only withdraw when you resign or when you are terminated, and then you'll be allowed 27,500 without any tax. If you are 55, or should you later turn 55, you'll get a retirement benefit and you won't pay tax on your first 550,000, but it's only once. This one is once, and this one is once. I hope you understand and get that. Natalie, is it possible to get a copy of the webinar recording? Maybe. Yes, I'll make one available. If nothing happens, I'll make one available. Also, everybody who registered, I'll be inviting you to the next one. If there's another one, and I'll maybe go into other things in the next one. Thank you for that question. It was very valuable. I learned a lot. Thank you for the presentation. Thank you, Ms. P. I do appreciate the comment. When you transfer to an approved fund from the GEPF, do you get all you and your employer contributions toward the pension fund as a uniform member, or only your contributions only? If your contract ends and not renewed before the age of 55, 66. So Roberto, the GEPF is what I called earlier is a defined benefit plan, right? So there's no actual contributions. Although you do contribute towards your pension fund, your value is determined by how long you worked, what your salary was, if you took two-pot withdrawals, if you purchased years, if you are a uniformed member or not. So that is what is used to calculate your benefit. So your benefit will be transferred, not necessarily only contributions and your employer contributions, because it's a defined benefit fund. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. So although you do contribute, although your employer does contribute, this money gets put in a large fund, the GEPF's funds. They have a lot of, I think they're the biggest one in Africa and one of the top 10 funds with the amount of money in the world. And they determine what you will receive by looking at your years of service, looking at your final salary, and doing a calculation. I hope you understand. So if your contract ends and is not renewed before retirement age, I would suggest that you preserve that capital until the age of 55 to pay less tax. So if your contract ends and is not renewed before retirement, I would suggest rather preserve that capital, make provision for that in terms of you need to look for another job, so you need to have some emergency savings. But I'll advise, or I'll recommend you transfer it to something like that. Am I late? Any replay? Tobile, yes, I will make a relay available for everybody who is here tonight. I'll send the recording afterwards. I'm single without kids. I'm thinking of taking early retirement. What's your take on that? You have no kids, early retirement. Noku Sasa. I would suggest if you want to take early retirement, understand and do the calculation, right? You need to know what income you'll receive. You'll need to know what lump sum you'll receive. Not sure if you have a spouse, but you need to understand if you take early retirement, you're going to be penalized. Depending on your situation and on your calculation, there could be a difference like 6,000 Rand. But if you can live with the 12,000 Rand, and if you are certain you can live with the 12,000 Rand, then perhaps you should take early retirement. But if you are still healthy, nothing serious, I can promise you won't be mad at yourself, because 5 years go by quick if you decide to retire at the age of 60. What does the following mean? Your provident statement vested X savings. Thank you for that question, Pia. Thank you, Nokosasa, for yours. So the vested pot, and this is in regards to the 2-pot system, it's actually 3 pots. And the vested pot I normally call the old money, just to make it easier to understand. So the vested pot is all your contributions in the Provident Fund until the 1st of September, was it 2024? Was it last year? So all the money you contributed, your whole fund value within the GEPF at the date of 1 September 2024, that's your vested pot. The reason why they had to keep that separate, that still applies to the old rules. So the vested pot still has the old rules, meaning you can resign and take that full amount. You will be taxed, but you can take that amount. Your savings portion is part of the new two-pot system where you can withdraw a portion. You cannot withdraw from the vested pot. You can withdraw from the savings pot, right? It will have an effect, but you can withdraw. The retirement pot, you won't be able to access even if you resign today. So in future, people won't have a vested pot. Only people who had a pension before 1st of September will have a vested pot. After 1st of September, everybody starting working won't have a vested pot, only a savings and a retirement pot. That's that. My question was answered 100%. Thank you, sir. When I resign, will I get my vested money even if I did withdraw my two-pot? If you resign, you will get your vested money, like I explained just now. Even if you withdrew from your two-pot, if you resign, you will get your vested pot. You'll pay tax on it, but you will get it. And it seems that's that. Any other question? Guys, I'm going to send you an email. Please send me a message, people on TikTok, if you did not. You missed the webinar. How can one watch it again? Says Sexy Eyes. I will be sending it to everybody who registered. So if you registered via my link in the bio, then I will be sending you the recording. I have everybody's email, and then I'll be sending the recording tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow's Friday. Tomorrow I'll send the recording. If there's no hiccups. Another question, with SA government increasing the retirement age from 60 to 65, with the SA government increasing the retirement age from 60 to 65, what are the implications for employees intending to resign at 60? Lindani, currently this is just speculation. If you decide to resign at 60, I believe should they implement this, there won't be any penalties after 60. But I think for certain departments, they want to increase the retirement age from 60 to 65 because people are living longer. So I don't think you will be penalized for going at 60, but you will have the option to go to 65. Just like some departments currently do have that option. Roberto, would you suggest preserve for the GPF? Where do I have not any control over how funds are managed and or invested, or choose another financial service provider? Roberto, so the GPF is a very good fund, right? In my opinion, it's probably one, if not the best fund. The reason why I feel this way, you see, any fund can collapse. Any fund, it doesn't matter which company. But what I believe with the GPF is there's too many government employees that will be affected. Too many state employees will be affected if that fund should happen. Something should happen to it. So everybody's going to be in the biggest problems ever. So I believe they'll have to make a plan, even if it is increasing tax, but they'll have to bail out GPF. But currently the fund is very strong, and I think they can pay everybody. They released a statement. They can pay everybody if everybody would claim today. But sometimes if you need to resign, you need to resign, and sometimes you're not allowed to keep your funds within the GPF. But as I said, your funds is not really, in terms of your funds, is not within the GPF like a normal pension fund. They determine what they owe you depending on your calculation. If you understand what I'm saying. It seems that is all the questions that I have answered. On TikTok, I won't be able to answer tonight because you had to register for the webinar. Only the people who took action here on the webinar. Because you won't able to share my screen here on TikTok. I was testing. Thank you, everyone. If there's no more questions, then I do thank everybody for coming out tonight. And I appreciate taking the time and the questions. And be on the lookout if you registered for the replay and also for future webinars. Thank you so much, everybody. Keep well. Take care. Thank you.